They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Hello there, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd. Joining me this evening, I've got digital guru for Somerset CCC, Ben Warren, the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson, and losing his Bright Side of Life virginity tonight, the one and only Harry Everett, still wearing his Sanford shirt, fresh from a rainy day of T20s today. He's still got his whites on as well. At least I had the decency to have a shower after my game today, Harry, which was... we played our sponsors in the rain. We have an annual game today. Not necessarily in the rain, but we always seem to engineer them a win. But it was pretty grim today in the persistent drizzle. But thank you to everybody at Wallens for your continued support. And I know a few of the guys listen and support of South Devon Cricket Club. That's that plug out the way. No Somerset matches since we last recorded, but plenty of news. Shall we start chronologically with the news, shock, that Tom Banton has re-signed after his inadvertent, I don't know whether it was a slip of the tongue. Harry, you're probably best to...
sorry, Ben.
Best to talk about that. Okay, sorry, Ben. And then a very, very guilty look down the commentary box cam. But I think we can all agree that is fantastic news, and it's great to see Banton's put pen to paper till 2024. Harry, you were there, mate. You were there at Ground Zero when that bombshell was dropped. What do you make of that? I just think great sign, especially considering that he's got that monkey off his back of his first Red Ball 100 against Essex. It seems like about 15 years ago now, but with all the other cricket that we've had in the meantime. But yeah, great news.
Yeah, probably my unintentional highlight of the season. That's been very much quite funny. I think we can laugh about it now, but it's a bit of panic at the time. But no, I was just listening to the podcast from last time, your last podcast back, and Anthony and Duncan said, I'm not sure if we're trusting that Banton's staying, not sure what he's saying with his mum's tweet going out, but no, glad that we can be officially enjoy it, and great to see that he's staying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we know what a force he's been in white ball cricket over the last few years. But yeah, Red Bull. I mean, you were there for his maiden first class 100 a couple of weeks ago, Gibbo, down at Essex.
Yeah, I did. I was. It was excellent. And what I liked about the innings was he just played his natural way. He didn't try to be over aggressive, and he wasn't playing this sort of rather limp-wristed defensive game that he has been in a lot of county championship games earlier in the season. He just went out and he decided to take on Simon Harmer, because he recognised that if he just let Simon Harmer bowl at him, sooner or later one was going to find the edge. And he started sweeping and slog sweeping Simon Harmer, and he just took the game away from one of the best off spinners in the world, in fact, and one of the best spinners in the country. And I thought, that's the way you need to play, Tom, in all county championship matches. Just, not overly aggressive and not overly defensive. Just play each ball on its merits, but be your naturally aggressive self. And I think if he does that, then he can be as effective a red ball cricketer as he has been a white ball one.
I think that's going to be the key for him now in the red ball game, is finding that position in the batting order that, like Anthony says, allows him to find that tempo to play. I mean, I think he's obviously tried a few different positions over he tried opening at the front end of last season. And I know obviously that 100 at Essex was fantastic, but it came in at 7 after the concussion replacements and things like that. So I think that's the next step, isn't it? Is him fighting, whether that is 4, whether that is going to be, and I guess that'll depend on where Kola Cadmore bats next year as well. But I think that is the next step for him, is to find a settled home in that Somerset batting lineup, and then I think Anthony's spot on in terms of that tempo of being aggressive yet in control, and I think if he can do that and he can show the signs that he's shown, then there's every chance that he'll have hopefully a say on the 4 games still to play here, but more importantly, I think going into next season to have a real run at this Red Bull side.
I think Anthony makes a good point about the way he played Harmer. We looked at Harmer playing the Test match, and yes, it's different playing Test match to County Championship, but the way Banton played Harmer really well. Harmer has been immortal for Essex for the last few years in the County Championship, been so good. Suddenly looked almost average. Then the Test match he struggled. Yes, he's Johnny Bairstow, Ben Stokes, quality players, whoever's hitting him around, but I think that positive approach has worked really well against Harmer. When you look at that middle order now, if you think Banton, Rue coming in, and they could have some serious partnerships with 360 hitting, and if the top order can do their job, Lammonby, Imam, Abel, and then set the platform, it could be really exciting for Somerset to have that middle order powerhouse.
And of course, it's not entirely cut and dried as to who the long-term replacement for Steve Davis is going to be. James Drew's obviously got runs. I saw he took an incredible catch off a no ball against was it Sussex? I think he took that one. But there were a few little sort of rookie mistakes in there from young James Drew. So I think Banton could be 6-7 with the gloves, with the Rue batting sort of. I think he said in the top 3. I don't know. I don't think Banton wants to keep in Red Bull cricket. I think he said on commentary, alluded to it, that it's a long old 4 days and bending down. He's had his injury concerns and he wants to concentrate on his batting. I think I'd be surprised if Banton was to keep in Red Bull long term, unless James Drew was suddenly injured last minute or away on England duty or something. But I think it would be more likely to be Rue, and then maybe even Kola Cadmore ahead of Banton next year.
Yeah, I agree. James Rue looks a much more natural wicketkeeper than Tom Banton.
So he's done it once,
and he's only 18. He's learning the job, but he looks the part. I think.
I thought he kept pretty well in the One Day Cup games. Again, I know it's a pretty obvious cliche, but didn't notice him too much behind the stumps, which is generally a good sign. But yeah, I think as time goes on, Somerset need to invest in him as the keeper batter moving forward. However long Steve Davis is got, and form dependent and things. But for me, I think James Drew's a special talent, and I think if that is going to be his route to be a proper keeper batter, then we need to throw all our eggs in him.
There's all of a sudden now, which is even more astounding considering that Steve Davis has kind of lost his way, and we've had Hildy retire in the last few weeks. We've actually got quite a selection headache with the batting now. When you consider that George Bartlett was the man in possession, and I think he got 80 odd unbeaten in against Yorkshire. I think he get about 40 against Essex. Then you've got Banton coming in making 100. You've got Imam Hat coming in. You've got Andy Umeed who looked like just the sort of play we need at the top of the order with the few innings that he played in the Royal London One Day Cup. Goldsworthy's in form, Rue's in form. So, somebody's going to have to be very unlucky, I think, tomorrow.
Well, I think the big decision is between Bartlett and Banton.
Yeah,
I think that the rest of the order I think probably takes care of itself. Imam Hat, Tom Lammonby, Tom Abel, Lewis Goldsworthy, James Rue, Lewis Gregory if he's available. If they decide to play him, if not, Rolf van der Merwe, then Aldridge, Sajid Khan, I guess will come in 9. Josh Davey and Jack Brooks. But that big decision at either 4 or 5, depending on where they back Goldsworthy, is it Bartlett or is it Banton? Very hard to call. Very hard to call.
You got Aldridge as well to pop in there as well, Gibbo. You missed out Casey.
I missed him.
It's even more difficult now.
No. Aldridge I've got coming in at 9. No, 8. 8. At 8, and then Sajid, Davey and Brooks.
Oh, did I miss him out? Did I? Sorry. Or Gregory / Aldridge.
No, Gregory / Rolf van der Merwe.
Oh, I've had a long day, Gibbo. Sorry, I've not even been to the pub.
How many beers at the sponsors' day was it, Shep? You've had a long day.
I had a pint afterwards. I'm just on my Thatcher's Rascal now, but it's been a long day when you don't play as regularly as I do.
No, I agree with Anthony. I think that's the 11 I would look at. And yeah, your Banton Bartlett at 5 is the issue. I think Van der Merwe and Bartlett have carried a lot of drinks in the last couple of years and potentially might again. It'd be good to have Brooks and Davey fit at the same time. So often this year, last couple of years, one of Brooks or Davey has been injured. So it'd be nice to see them. Oh, and I've been really impressed with Casey Aldridge's last few games both formats he's played in the last couple of months. So excited to see him have a big role to play, hopefully.
Yeah, for me, I think Casey Aldridge deserves to play. I think there's no doubt about it. Casey Aldridge deserves. He's performed pretty well during the Royal London Cup, but before that, he's been great, particularly in the Championship at Taunton. We always go back to that Surrey game where he took a few wickets in that second innings, and I think for me he's another one that yes, we need to look at the here and now, but he's going to be around in that Somerset side for the next hopefully 10 years. So I think he's one that we need to be investing in and getting him as much experience as we can, as young as he can, because I think he's got all the attributes. In the field with the bat, he's more than capable of scoring first class half centuries. So I think he's definitely someone that we should be, particularly in a derby game, giving him that extra spice of a game against your local rivals. I think it's something that we need to be doing.
Yeah, I think for me, we've jumped ahead of the agenda. We're doing our side for tomorrow now. That was probably item 4 or 5 on the agenda, but let's do it now. Let's go into free flow. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm leaving out. It's so difficult because every all those top 6-7 deserve a place, and you're gonna have to leave out one of Bartlett or Banton. It's really difficult, but I think potentially I think I'm gonna leave out Bartlett. Although, do you play Bartlett because Banton has had a pretty rotten time in that other competition, and does that come into selection as well? So, I don't. It's literally 50-50 for me about which one of those two guys plays. So it's a decision that I'm very glad that I don't have to make. And if I was Andy Hurry and Jason Curl, I'd probably just nip off to my office, shut the door, toss a coin, and come out and make the decision, because it's, joking aside, it is a real 50-50, and I'm just, like I said, I'm so glad I don't have to make that decision.
But I guess the upshot is, as well as having the hard call to make, is I guess if you wind the clock back 12 months when Somerset were on this sort of losing streak in the back, and there was no real competition for places, there was no one scoring runs in the second 11, no real kind of jeopardy of but so I guess the upshot, not only in the fact that hopefully we'll have a informed batting lineup to choose from, is that there'll be people, likes of Andy and me, the likes of whoever misses out, that will hopefully keep everyone on their toes, to know that if form does change and they don't score runs, then there's people that are going to be pretty quickly coming into that lineup, which is, I don't think we've been in that position for probably 3 years, really.
It's probably worth saying that we got all this selection dilemma we're talking about just in that squad. Ben Green, if she's out, he would be in and around the mix maybe, and Andy Mead, who's been talked about being signed as a Red Bull opener, and those two guys aren't even in the 13. So that shows the great strength in depth. I think I was just looking back at the averages before this season. Banton was averaging 22 in Red Bull cricket and Bartlett 27. I mean, as you say, it's 50-50 cool. Yeah. I think that is the hardest one at 5. I reckon they might go Banton just because he's done more and more exciting white ball player. Maybe that will come into it a little bit, but I do feel like George Bartlett gets hard done by. He's unlucky quite a lot of the time.
Sometimes the architect of his own downfall, George, isn't it? He can be absolutely cruising, and then he'll just play an inexplicable shot and get himself out. He's potentially the most frustrating player I think I've ever seen down at Taunton. He's got he's great 100 against Gloucester. We had a great 100 up at Trent Bridge a few years ago and they had a pretty decent attack that day. And
Old Trafford,
100 against Hampshire. They've got a good attack, and then you think this guy should be averaging 60-70 in the Championship, and he just seems to just very stop being frustrating, George. There we are. There's the title of the podcast for this week. Oliver James, you're in my bad books because you've just outbid me for the signed Roloff van der Merwe shirt on the Pakistani flood auction that the club are currently running. We'll have a quick chat about that, seeing as that's topical at the moment. If you want to pop onto the club website, somersetcountycc.co.uk, all sorts of signed goodies there, shirts and prints and stuff of bats and all that sort of thing. So anything you like, but it is all for an incredible cause, because obviously having a really tough time of it out there in Pakistan with the weather. Anything you can add on to that, Ben?
Yeah, no, massive thanks to everyone who's jumped on it already. I say it just seemed like a really natural thing to do, given the links we've had with Pakistan anyway, but certainly with Imam and Sajid joining, it just felt like a really nice way to sort of embed them in the culture, and obviously it's just a really good cause. So there will be more to come throughout the week. There's a few more lots being added, and I know Imam and Sajid are going to do a few bits with it. So we're sort of going to treat the game a little bit like the sort of fundraiser in all. But jump on, have a look. There's quite a lot of bits and pieces of players have been brilliant in sort of donating it all off their own back. So well worth a look.
You could make the OK Sorry Ben into an NFT. Pop that out.
Can't mention it. That might be a few podcast time.
I've got no idea what an NFT is. It's something to do with pictures of monkeys smoking. I know it's more complicated than that, but just thought I'd be told. Gibbo, are you going to donate any Battlefield if there's a couple of bottles of that, if there's any left?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll have those.
Very good cause.
So we got on there at the moment. We got Tom Abel shirts, Imam ul Haq shirts, England shirts, signed bats, West Indies and Somerset, Jack Leach shirt, Craig Overton, Tom Banton, Jack Brooks, Roloff van der Merwe, canvas print signed by Ian Botham, and a Royal London One Day Cup shirt signed by Ben Green, which is currently the highest priced item at £175. Mr. Matthew Hartigan is all over that one. So mentioned Pakistani
Even
players.
And also Gloucestershire picked the right game. Yeah.
Was that Harry?
Zafar in it. All the Gloucestershire guys that played for Pakistan as well. It's good. Good game to have with 5 Pakistan players who played.
And of course, what's quite interesting is the game next week. Warwickshire, they've signed 2 Indian players, so it's going to be that would be quite an interesting subplot next week. But
who've they signed, Ben? Who've they signed?
They have signed Siraj and Jayant Yadav, who is an off spinner, I believe.
Siraj is a good player.
Yeah, he played in.
So that should be. I know we're looking ahead, but should be an interesting subplot.
So Ben, I gather you had a bit of a. You're breaking up a little bit, Harry. You might want to turn it off and on again or something. You've gone all blocky. You had a bit of clarity earlier. Now you've gone very, very blocky. I feel like you're on dial-up. But while Harry's sorting himself out, Thursday night, Ben, that must have been fun, getting all those Sajid Khan Facebook messages requested to be removed and all that, because it was the worst kept secret in the West Country and Pakistan, and it was officially confirmed by the club on Friday morning that off-spinner Sajid Khan will be joining us for the final 4 games. He's played 7 tests. Best of about an 8th. I had a little bit. Not heard much about him, to be honest. I had a little bit of a look. He looks to give it a rip. Andy Hurry intimated to you that he was signing an overseas bowler, Gibbo.
He did.
You weren't far wrong. Your spine senses were tingling.
I'd assumed it was going to be an overseas quicker bowler rather than an overseas off spinner, and perhaps with the weather forecast, it might have been better off if we had signed a quicker bowler. But yeah, I mean, he looks, he looks the part, and be interesting to see how he goes.
Yeah, he's got an interest in action. I don't know if anyone has seen the sort of clips of him on YouTube or anything, but he's got a bit of interest in action. He's only sort of recently sort of broken into the Pakistani team, but he's taken an 8th against I think it was against Bangladesh. As an off spinner, I think it's no secret about the fact that we'd be been crying out for one since Dom left, whether it be overseas or domestic. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if this was on your agenda, Shep, but if we're going to go onto the pitch, I would be interested to see whether there will be any assistance for him over the next 2 home games, and potentially if there will be.
Well, there have been a few questions about it. I mean, with the weather that we've had, not in the immediate sort of last day or so, but certainly over the last month, it's been we've hardly had any rain, and the pitches will be drying out, and they're generally pretty dry and spin friendly in September anyway. So yeah, it seemed like a sort of a no-brainer kind of signing, really, doesn't it? I mean, the question is, what do we do for that penultimate game against Northants? Do we go hell for leather and resurrect Cider, go for a full renaissance there and have Leach and Khan operating at both ends all day, or chuck Roloff in there as well and Lewis Goldsworthy, leave out all the seamers, or do we just kind of try and prepare a decent cricket wicket as Scott Hawkins and the guys always seem to do?
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, I guess it will depend on how the table looks at the time. Really, I mean, I think.
Yeah.
I think if you've got Leach and Khan available, then I think they're pretty much likely both to play, unless there's anything sort of majorly sort of favouring the seamers in terms of the conditions of the pitch. But yeah, I think looking at the table, obviously this Warwickshire don't play this round, so if it ends up all the games being draws in this round, then it's going to be really tight down there, really, really tight. So there's a lot to play for. There really is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see a situation where you've signed an overseas pro and then you bench him, or you play your overseas pro and you bench Jack Leach. I don't think either of those are going to happen. I mean, decent spin bowlers should bowl well on any sort of surface, really. And if you've got 2 of the best in the business, as these 2 seem to be, both both played a bit of Test match cricket, then yeah, go for it.
I'm really excited to bowl. I can't wait to see him. To become Pakistan's #1 Test spinner is pretty good going. Remember that game back in March against Australia? I was watching him bowl quite close. I think he bowled 33 overs in the first innings, and he got Khawaja out on 91. And Khawaja is probably Australia's best player of spin. And he was creaming it. He played so well in the recent Test matches for Australia. And Sajid Khan, he didn't get loads of wickets in that Test, but for 33 overs against Australia, there's obviously a lot of belief and faith in him. So I'm really excited to see him bowl, and cracking action saying his moustache. He's going to be an interesting character. I reckon him and Leach will be great to watch.
Yeah, he's got the full handlebar.
Yeah.
With little twirly ends as well. I think there's a few people have put out on social media that poor old Ben Green's tash is looking a little bit. It's been put in the shade by Sajid's effort, and I think him and March need to sharpen their tash game.
Also, say he batted 7 in the Test match against Australia as well. So, I thought of him more as a 9 or 10, but maybe he's going to be, bowling all rounder. Maybe he's a bit generous, but could be decent with the bat. I haven't seen much of him, but
I think he has got a few runs at first class level. I think he's got a couple of. He's not a mug, I don't think. So yeah, again, it's
first class century.
Yeah,
5. Mm-hmm. I think the big question is: will Lewis Gregory play? After his heroics in the tournament we don't mention, he must be, and I dare say he's been celebrating quite a lot since he took the Trent rockets into orbit.
I heard he was on the skips till about 4 a.m. He's had so many packets of them. He's absolutely he looks like Bernard Manning now coming back. He's overweight. He's unfit. Just too many packets of skips. Although I do like skips, but slightly.
But
less
he's so important to us, though, isn't he? If with bat and ball, and it'd be a great shame if he can't play.
He's in the squad, so I think. I'm sure he would have been down to that. They were planning to train this morning. I don't know if they managed to do it with the weather, but I'm sure he would. I'm sure he will if he is fit. He looked it.
He certainly did.
He's got confidence and form with the bat against Gloucestershire in the year, and at Bristol we were up there, weren't we, for that? Coming back to that stupid 3, he shouldn't have run, but run himself out in the 90s, but. Really good aggressive knock when we were looking to get quick runs, declare and win by innings in the air was a great great win. But to have Gregory at his best, coming in at 6 or 7 and playing that attacking role is great for the side and balances it so well, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, could not agree more.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the tournament that we haven't been mentioned is going to play. You look at someone like Lewis Gregory, who's just been on a high, coming in. All right, there's only 6 balls, but then you got the likes of Tom Lammonby, and I know he's played the last couple of games, but really hasn't. He's probably hit about what is it going to be 30, 40 balls in professional cricket in the last 6 weeks. So it's going to be
he'll be full of confidence, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, that I can't remember who they were playing, but that knock midweek when he came in and all right, there were scoops and reverse hits and goodness knows what else, but nothing builds confidence like scoring runs when you really need to score runs. And I thought he looked in really good, and he was second highest scorer last night for the Manchester Originals as well. So I think he'll come in on a bit of a high as well. And I'm assuming that they're both selected, and they feel well enough, recovered enough to play, then I'm looking for great things from both of them on the back of the confidence that they will have got, albeit in a very different form of cricket.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Gibber. I don't think it's necessarily about facing hundreds of balls and playing straight and leaving them. If everything's in good order and you're feeling good, let's give them credit. They're not idiots. Tom Lammonby's not gonna all of a sudden just try and scoop over third man first over the game, is he? So saying that they've been playing the scoops and the ramps and the reverse switch hits and whatever, that's fine. But it just means your levers are in good order. You're seeing the ball nicely, and you're confident. That's all it is. I mean, maybe a little bit about just winding the tempo back a little bit, but. We know Lammers can do that. I mean, look at how he's done it against Worcester. He's played that innings against Worcester in the COVID season, so he's done it. So I mean, I think they've got it in their lockers just to transfer from one format to another. I like you say, I'm expecting good things from them as well.
I think they've got it in their lockers. I think it's just such a drastic shift in execution that he's going to be opening the innings. It's probably going to be drizzly, or the ball's going to be and I think there's a difference between. I mean, he might not even have hit a red ball in the he might not have because if he was travelling back from Lords today and they didn't train this afternoon, because he would literally get in the nets tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and that might be the first time he's seen a red ball since July. So I think that great if he comes through it, and he's no doubt got the talent to, and good on him. But that's a serious challenge that I think he'll have to overcome if we are inserted or we end up choosing to bat first in the morning. That he's gonna it's gonna be a hugely different experience for him. But fair play if he goes on and does well.
I mean, that's the thing. It's the nibbly Duke's ball against the Kookaburra that doesn't really have a seam and doesn't really do much. That is, for me, I think, that's the crux of switching between white ball and red ball cricket. It's the actual ball itself and what it does. White ball cricket, you're generally playing with with that Kookaburra, no seam on a flat pitch, and Duke's ball, drizzly, overcast. Tomorrow could be a completely different kettle of fish.
I think what will help him though is that Gloucestershire look pretty weak. Batting line, I was thinking pretty similar. Harris, Bracey, some good players. Missing Dent is obviously a Warriors anchor injury for Gloucestershire, but Payne, Van Meekeren, Shaw, Price, that's not threatening, scary bowlers. Payne is good left arm, bit of swing. Van Meekeren's got a bit of a point to prove against Somerset, perhaps. Lovely bloke. I don't think anyone at Somerset's got bad words to say about him, but they're not really scary, threatening county championship bowlers. Nothing on a Bass and Abbott, so that should hopefully help. Lammonby and co coming back.
So we're all predicting a comfortable Somerset victory if we can dodge the showers.
It's never comfortable.
It's never. Well, it was up at the Unique Seat Stadium a few months ago. We absolutely stuffed them. But yeah, I mean, all things being equal, we are man for man. We are better than them. All things being equal, we should beat them.
How do you feel that Gloucester are going? Do you think Gloucester still believe that they can get out of this with if they won 3 games? that was only my thinking, is that, you know, if there is a situation where we get enough cricket, are they going to be so desperate to go for a win? Are they going to set us 150 in the last innings, or just have a go? Because a draw is realistically going to probably see near the mathematical end of their Division 1 campaign. But
so
just wondering if Somerset could use that kind of desperation.
Yeah, it could do. From what I hear, they're not a happy ship at all, Gloucestershire. Not a happy ship at all.
Is that because they signed Marchant?
No, it's to do with
that was unfair. Sorry, Marchant. That was unfair.
No,
so Gloucester played 11 on 62. Somerset played 10. Are 37 points ahead on 99. So it's and then we got Warwickshire played 11 on 104. So they are. If it is what we think it's going to be, 2 up, 2 down, there. What's that? 43 points from safety, which, as you say, Ben, is they're in the last chance saloon already. They need to win this game. If Somerset win and Gloucester lose, that could potentially be the nail in the coffin already with three games to go.
Them and the champions Warwickshire in big trouble. I think again, a team can win it one year and then get relegated last year. So excited as a championship, but. We talk about the weather is going to be so important this week. I think it's also, we haven't mentioned too much, talked about Sajid's off spin. There's so many left-handers. You look at Hammond, Bracey, Harris, there's probably others, but the 3 top men in the top order, obviously we don't know how early. There's so many seamers for Somerset. They've got 8 bowling options, Somerset. Yeah, that's including Lammonby, Abel and Goldsworthy, who don't bowl that much, but how early do they go to the off spin against the left-handers? You obviously want the seamers to do the job if you're from Abel, but it's not going to be nice, those left-handers, if it gets to day 3 and 4 and there's been a few overs through. You've got to back your Pakistan overseas to make it pretty hard for them.
Does Zeman bowl as well? They all Pakistan seem to chuck down some leg spin if they can. Yeah, there we go.
Breaks.
If he's as good as Azhar Ali, then that will be all right for us.
He's taken 1 first-class wicket.
I just hope he runs better than his uncle. That's what I'm most worried about.
Yeah, so plenty of options. I think, we're going to be too strong for them. If we manage to get a good amount of play in, I think we're too strong for them. I think we'll win.
Yeah. The weather is the enemy.
It is indeed. From the sublime to the ridiculous. From being far too hot to absolutely piddling down.
We would do some rain, to be fair, wouldn't they?
We were,
yeah. Rather than yellow cricket grounds now.
That's true. Anything else been going on then? Oh, just back to Sajid Khan. And we spoke about that before we started recording, but there were tweets from Pakistani journalists on dated, I think, the 22nd of August that he'd signed for us. How did we all miss that? How did that not crop up on anybody's radar for like 2 weeks ago? That it cropped up on somebody's radar, didn't it, Ben? But you obviously sworn to secrecy. I think
there's obviously I think the interesting thing is that I guess there's quite a lot of steps that have to be taken before something can be sort of officially confirmed, and maybe some of those journalists and some agents maybe jumped a few guns. They potentially all the I's were dotted.
They tried to do what I unintentionally did for Tom Banton, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, when
is Somerset's next signing going to be announced?
About 3 weeks before it should be, if the form's
the one that we all know about. The one that we all know about.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment.
This is for next season, I should say, not for this season.
Couldn't possibly comment. There's a few bits of that'll be coming out over the next few weeks that'll be of interest. So, it's
who's that one, Gibbo? You've piqued my curiosity.
I'm not free to say.
I'll just write it down and hold it up on a bit of paper.
No, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it from any Somerset County Cricket Club sources, so I suppose I could say it. But there's a contact up north who's suggested, and I'd already heard it anyway. So,
well, you were spot on with Marchant de Lange a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell us then. You told us you'd not heard it from anybody available at Somerset. You can't.
No, I don't want to get the wrong side of Somerset County Cricket Club, but it's any more than I am already.
Well, yeah, you'll be commentating from the top of the shirt factory if you keep annoying people. All right, then. Tell us after and I'll put it out onto it. So up north. Is it Ben Stokes?
No, it's not.
Is it Johnny Bairstow? Is it Joe Root?
Not quite so
James
well,
Anderson?
No. Decent cricketer, mine.
Don Bess coming back?
No.
Oh.
So good.
We'll look forward to Ben tweeting some eye emojis.
I'm just going to get my cricketers who's who, go through everybody from anywhere. Well, up north could be anywhere from kind of Gloucestershire upwards, couldn't it? So
I don't think it's as up north as you're going, Jack.
Up north.
Yeah.
Bridgewater.
Anyway, we move on.
Let's move on then, and we won't discuss the signing of this mystery man. But I'm sure all will be revealed in due course with the appropriate procedures followed. Right, shall we jump on to listeners' questions then? Our correspondent tweeted. Oh, Roloff's tweeted me. He's asking me what shirt I'm after, and I'll make sure it's part of the auction. Happy days. Cheers, Roloff. I'll have anything you got, mate. Anything you got, I'll have.
Jockstrap?
Yep, I'd frame that and sign it. No, I wouldn't sign it. I'd just frame it. Right, here we go. Who was first on the list today? We have got. Oh, see, this is your fault, Harry. You're not supposed to respond to questions on Twitter because then they get a thread, and it's really difficult for me to.
As I did it, I thought I shouldn't have done that. I got a bit excited. I was waiting for my next game. I was waiting for bat or something, I think, and I needed something.
Andy Clee was about Craig Overton unavailable on international duty. He's not going to be selected. Why isn't he released for us? Oh, I think they've got to cover for injury, freak injuries, just in case. I hope
he will be for the Warwickshire game. I think there's a good chance for the Warwickshire game if he's not selected. He should be available for that, and that would make a big difference.
The inner conspiracy theorist in me is saying they'll pick him for the test next week just so he can't play against Warwickshire. Right, Simon Hancock is poking the hornet's nest of our favourite topic of the other competition. Would you go and watch a Southwest 100 franchise if it had a core of Somerset players?
It's a very good question.
Well, it's multi-layered, I think, because it's alluding to the fact that, one, we don't like the 100 because it takes all of our best players, and let's not beat about the bush. We are one of the worst affected counties for losing 100 players, and then we also don't have the opportunity. Whether we would take it or not is a moot point, but we don't have any of this cricket in the southwest hotbed of Taunton and Bristol to go and watch. So
I went no straight away. I should say I was one of less than maybe 10 journalists in the whole world I'm aware of. I was at Trent Bridge for the first ever pilot of the 100. So I feel like before people tell me off for being West Country and being biased and just writing something off, I was literally there and we watched it. We interviewed Darryl Mitchell, who was the PCA chair at the time, spoke to loads of people about this, the Australian guy who was all behind it, working for the ECB, and the players didn't have a clue what was going on. It was bizarre, the 5-ball things, and it was just so messy and confusing. I know they tried to refine it and change it a little bit since this is, 5 years ago, how long ago it was. But I just didn't get the thing. Why change overs are not a complicated thing? That's one of my biggest bugbear, is why you're trying to get kids into the game. What's wrong with 6-ball overs? When I played a T20 the other night on the Erratics Oxford tour, and we bowled 2 overs from one end, which seemed absolutely bizarre and revolutionary, but it got us through quicker. Because it's August, we started at 5 and we've done by half 7. It didn't help that we were batting. But there's little other things you can do. You could bowl 10 overs from one end and 10 overs from the other end. If you want to make T20s quicker, there's so many things you can do without making it sets of 5 or 10 or weird other things. I just feel like it's completely unnecessary. And I'm just passionate that overs is a big part of cricket. And that was one of the rules I just didn't get them changing. I could go on, keep winding up. There's plenty of things. But
Do you think, though, if, and I don't want to weigh in on them, it's not for me to weigh in on whether Somerset fans would want it or not, but do you think if, I know Nasser Hussain and a few others have been talking about renaming Welsh Fire, Southwest Fire, or whatever, if Somerset County Cricket, if Taunton hosted 100 games, do you think they'd sell out?
Yes, probably. I think they probably would. I'm very torn, I must say. I think if a West Country Fire 100 side had a good core of Somerset and Gloucestershire players in it, I'd be quite drawn to watching it. I don't think I'd be asked to commentate on it because I don't think my
welcome to this load of bollocks here from Taunton. I've begrudgingly here, Anthony Gibson. Oh God, right.
But against that, there's quite a substantial block of Somerset members and supporters who define themselves by their opposition to the 100. They hate the blooming thing. And so, I think it would create real angst within the sort of Somerset membership supporters and so on. If we were to have that, but blood is thicker than water, and in the end, if they're your boys taking part in an important game of cricket, you're going to want to support them, even if you don't particularly like the format. I mean, with the 100. I haven't watched a full game, but I have watched a lot of performances by Somerset cricketers. I just go in order to see Tom Lammonby or Lewis Gregory or whoever it might be, and see how they Tom Banton, see how they get on, because I identify with Somerset County Cricket Club. I identify with Somerset County Cricket Club probably more than I do with England. It was very interesting. There was a comment from Michael Atherton in the Times a couple of days ago where he said if county cricket isn't, if the purpose of county cricket isn't producing England cricketers, then what is its purpose? Well, to me, the county championship is an end in itself. I support Somerset. I want to see Somerset win the county championship more than I want to see England beat Australia in the next Ashes series, because winning the county championship is something we have never done, and that's what really motivates me. So I think if a West Country Fire had that core of a regional identity, then I think both in Taunton and in Bristol it would take off.
Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, I think if you look at our team, which is the Welsh Fire, they have got, one Somerset player in Tom Banton, and how many Gloucester players have they got? Does Payne play for them, or is he another franchise?
I think David Payne, or he was. Again, I couldn't tell you too much about them.
Michael Hogan plays for them, but he's Australian.
Yeah, so if you are looking to kind of regionalise the 100, if you look at the Somerset players, they're all over the shop. I think we've got players at every single team, haven't we? Which, going back to your point, if you want to get it localised, say if you have a combined Somerset, Gloucester and Glamorgan 11, which plays one game at Taunton, one game at Bristol, one game at Cardiff, and then one game at one of those grounds, it's a lot easier sell if you've got Somerset, Gloucester and Glamorgan players in there.
Which is exactly what happens with Western Storm.
Yeah, exactly. And all
the other franchises. It's Wales,
well,
Gloucestershire and Somerset, and they do have a regional identity, and they're very successful.
Yeah, I think it's very different in the men's and women's game. I think, but why would you want to travel further to watch cricket? I don't. The T20 Blast has had so many great overseas over the years. We've had De Villiers, we've had Brendan McCullum, Chris Gale at the prime. I don't see the standard of cricket argument people use all the time. I don't really buy that one. But I think, the women's game it's worked really well for. But I think if they just put the money in, a lot of it is £5 tickets. I do a lot of work in schools and coaching cricket, and I've had people come up to say, I don't want to watch the 100. I want my kids to watch cricket. But I've got to be honest with you, it's so cheap. If we happen to be on holiday in South Wales, or we happen to be visiting relatives in Birmingham or Southampton, I've taken my kids to watch the 100 because it's so cheap. And if the ECB or whoever's putting all the money in Sky had put all that into T20 Blast, I think every single county would have sold up T20 Blast if it was in the summer holidays. I think there's so many different facets and issues.
Yeah, but that ship has sailed. We're stuck with the 100 up till 2028. It's one of the basic assumptions in the high performance review and all the rest of it. That being the case, perhaps we have to make the best of it, rather than defining ourselves as a county cricket club as being against the 100, and Gloucestershire are very, very much the same as well. which is fair enough and makes you feel strong and determined and all the rest of it. But it does mean that we're missing out on potentially quite a lot of revenue. And the clubs that have got the 100 franchises are going to be making a lot more money over the next 5 years than the clubs that haven't. And perhaps we need to be in there. I don't know. I'm very torn about the whole thing. I am not a fan of the 100 for exactly the same sort of reasons that Harry was articulating, but we're stuck with it. So we might as well make the best of it.
I had a big discussion with Mark Overton at Insta the other week. Jamie was watching us in the touring game all day. I'm not quite sure why on his day off he wanted to go and watch some village cricket, but Mark was in the bar afterwards, and of course he's going to, it's helped his boys and it's getting the money, so he's going to have that. But it was some of the arguments about the money. I just feel like the counties had, we're going over debates we've had so many times. I don't need to keep going over it, but are they really that keen for it with the money? So much of it comes down to money. We don't want to see a Leicestershire and a Derbyshire go bankrupt. These great, counties and the history of the clubs, but it's just all a bit of a mess, isn't it? And like you say, Anthony, we're stuck with it for a few years, and people are going to keep arguing. We'll keep having these debates, and there's no real easy, quick fix.
I think the to sort of harp onto Gordon Hollands's point, which I think is a really good one, is that ultimately there's got to be world-class cricketers playing cricket in Taunton during the school holidays to inspire people. And at the moment, the last 2 years, and again, to discredit the likes of Matt Renshaw and Peter Siddle, the people who played in the Royal London Cup, but that I think is the biggest thing that they're fighting for. Is that there has to be world-class cricketers, men and women, playing in the summer months, and I think that's something that, whether that's whatever guise that is, I think that's a really interesting sort of overarching structure to it that needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, you look at when Chris Gale was playing for us, sort of 6-7 years ago. I know he calls himself the world boss and the universe boss, but the guy's just a force of nature. And when you've got someone like that playing at your club, going out and doing the things that he does, going out I think he was out in Taunton pretty much every night of the week, wasn't he? And I don't think he ever had to put his hand in his pocket once for a drink. Just an incredible... What's that?
Isn't that Chris Gale on your wall behind you as well, isn't it?
That is Chris Gale, yeah. That's one of the 2 times we had him down at South Devon. But that kind of goes to the point I was saying. Thanks for bringing that up, Harry.
You didn't pay me.
Yeah, when you've got someone like that who's around the kids. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic with the kids. He signed every autograph. He posted every selfie. We got him a bit drunk and he went out and batted when he weren't really supposed to. And I don't know how Matt Maynard wasn't there, thank goodness, so he couldn't really pull him back in. But just that sort of thing, having that world-class personality around kids, just inspiring them to play the game, it's absolutely invaluable. And like you say, obviously Matt Renshaw did a fantastic job, and no disrespect to Matt, but he's not like a huge name like Chris Gale is, was he? And Chris Gale, it's like having Messi, Ronaldo down your football club. It's like something that's absolutely unheard of. And when kids meet him, you can kind of see their eyes are like saucers, and they're just meeting this giant hero of a man, and they just get inspired.
But just going back to what Ben was saying, about wanting world-class cricketers to be playing at Taunton during August, does that mean that Gordon Hollands is interested in putting together some sort of West Country / Wales 100 franchise?
Well,
has he been asked about that? Has he given any sort of clear indications?
I think the answer is that I think at the moment we don't know what and what isn't on the table or even open for discussion. I think there's so many points that need to be given with this Strauss review about what happens next and what are the cards that Somerset have got to play to ensure that they're still relevant in 10 years' time. Those are situations, and I'm sure plenty of those cards involve 100, plenty of those cards involve international cricket, plenty of those cards involve women's cricket. But we need to, as a club, we need to make sure that we're still representing the whole of the southwest and doing it to the best we can, because it's such a huge area of cricketing. Well, it's a cricketing hotbed, as Nasser Hussain said. So, I think there's so many things that the ECB owe us. Essentially, I don't think it's lost on them that they've sort of left us out. I really don't. I know that a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, they don't care. They don't care." I think they do care. They just haven't quite managed to. They haven't got a solution as yet that gets us where we need to be. But
have there been any discussions between Somerset and Gloucestershire making common calls?
Oh, I think every angle of every situation has been discussed moving forward. I think it's clear that that like you said, the 100's here to stay, and I think it's clear that how county cricket could end up with the haves and have-nots if this situation develops as it could. Hopefully it won't, and whoever hosts 100 games and that it's not the end. It doesn't mean to say that all the players just get hoovered up, because that's the real. What we don't want to see is Lewis Gregory signing for Notts. We don't want to see Tom Lamb be signing for Lancashire. We don't, because believe they'll have no doubt those conversations will be taking place. There's no doubt.
Benny Howell's just gone back to Hampshire.
There's no doubt that if you're Lancashire and you like the look of Tom Lammonby, and you just go around and say, "Oh, check out these facilities we've got at Old Trafford." Yeah. It's absolutely no way that that's not going to happen. That there's going to be some tapping up going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the actual rules are with regards to what you would call tapping up then, but if you've got a player that you've got your eye on at your ground for a month, then you can just drip as much as you like, can't you? While it's not officially tapping up, it's not officially an offer, it could still be going on. So I mean, I think if right at the start of this, the team had been based at Taunton, called the West Country Warriors or something like that, I don't think the opposition from Somerset fans to the 100 would be nearly as vociferous as it is. But just watching the Welsh Fire playing to a half-empty Sophia Gardens week in, week out, it's they're losing every game. It's pretty dismal for them. So maybe they could have a revamp. Who knows? Just dropping it in there that Gordon Hollins is also a director of Welsh Fire Limited. Welsh Fire brackets the 100 Limited, listed on Companies House. So could make the change if he wanted to. He could certainly table it at a board meeting, along with William Brown from Gloucester. Who's that then?
Chief Exec.
Will Brown, Chief Exec. Dan Cherry of Glamorgan. He used to play for Glamorgan, didn't he, Dan Cherry? Way back when. Hugh Morris, Aileen Richards and Scott Smith are your board of directors for Welsh Fire. So presumably they'll be having a conflow at the disastrous couple of seasons. But I hope that's answered your question, Simon. We've done about 20 minutes on that. You just know if we mention the 100, that's it. Boom, we're all off on long run for about 3 or 4 hours. Any more for any more. Nice short one from Mark Long. If you're being realistic, how many games out of the last 4 do you think we can/will win? Well,
all of them.
Yeah, I think
2. 2.
Is that weather dependent, Gibbo, or do you think?
Yeah, if we get an even break from the weather, I think we can win 2. We ought to beat Warwickshire. Aren't very well. All right, they've got their Indian reinforcements. Northants aren't a great side, and Kent. It's going to be difficult to get any sort of result on that Canterbury wicket.
Yeah,
I think
it's always a road in it. So yeah, so
man to man, and Gloucestershire, as we've been saying, are with all their absentees, they weren't strong in the first place, and they look a lot less strong. Particularly
at 6 o'clock tomorrow, you're going to be saying the close of play. Gloucestershire are now 600 for 1 against Somerset. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. That's tempting fate if I ever heard it give up. But yeah, I think Warwick should look a bit stronger with their reinforcements. So a bit iffy about that. But I think we are better than Gloucester, Northants, Kent. And you're right. The pitch down at Canterbury could be the winner there. So yeah, we should. I wouldn't be surprised if we won all of them. It wouldn't be a shock if we beat Warwickshire. But it probably wouldn't be a shock if we lost to them or if it was a draw up there at Edgbaston. I think that one's pretty close to call. But pitch down at Canterbury is going to be going to be a tricky one to overcome, but we should beat Northampton Gloucester at home.
Yep.
If we don't, then there really will be some vitriol flying around social media. Right, next question then. That's from Mike. Mike thinks the 100 team should be called the Southwest Wurzels if we're based in Taunton. Going along with that, Mike?
Not sure that's the marketing.
Is that because the Wurzels is copyrighted? We can't use the Wurzels.
I think the sort of urban brand of the 100.
Yeah. Let's go with, I don't know. What about the Dragons? Is that good?
Don't forget that Wurzels is a diminutive of Mangle Wurzels, which is Mangle Wurzel is a type of turnip. So it's not really
what are the other things? Powder puff, popcorn, or whatever the other teams are. Turnip goes nice.
With a crisp. We need a crisp.
We're promoting healthy eating vegetables. Yeah, let's just name all the 100 teams after vegetables. You could have the Welsh Leagues.
I think the Western Dragons would be fine.
Western Dragons, absolutely.
I'm quite happy with Somerset.
Yeah, maybe we could like super regionalise it into, I don't know, 18. Does that sound like a good number?
Oh, that'd be a great idea. Yeah, let's go with that.
This is your fault, Harry. You've put in too many tweet notifications here, and I'm struggling to read all these questions. I think we were a bit light on questions today.
There weren't many, to be fair, so I thought I'd get a bit engaged.
Andy Cleave, are you surprised we signed an overseas spinner instead of a seamer? Could this mean the return of Cider about? Well, yeah, as you said, Gibbo, we thought we'd be getting an overseas seamer, but looking at it with a bit of hindsight, it makes sense to sign a spinner with Jack Leach being out. And Andy then goes, who misses out on the squad for the Gloucester game? I think we've kind of come to the consensus that it's probably going to be Roloff van der Merwe and one of Tom Banton or George Bartlett, but none of us are prepared to wield the axe on either of Pants or George, so we're going to leave it to the men in the know.
But even with you're talking about the seamer and the spinner, even with Leonard, Sale and Baker with their injury issues, there's still loads of seam options. Brooks, Davey, and we talk about Aben Lamberby as part-timers, but Brooks, Davey and Aldridge is pretty ideal first-class bowlers.
Marchant's not in the squad. He had a decent run last time out against Yorkshire as well. I thought he bowled really well that game. So
I'd like to see Tom Lamberby bowling more.
Yeah,
that left arm angle. It does make life a lot more difficult. There's a piece by Ed Smith in the Sunday Times today when. On that really the flattest pitch in history back in 2007 when Somerset were playing Middlesex, and there were more centuries scored in that game than any other in first class cricket. And Smith said he was going along no problem at all against the likes of Andy Caddick. Charles Willoughby came on, left arm over the wicket. He nipped between the slips, and it just completely discombobulated him because of the change of angle. And I think we ought to be making more use of Tom Lamberby to mix it up and just put that element of doubt in the batsman's mind.
Yeah, I played with Charles' son the other day in the Somerset Stragglers game. We were talking about Dad, the left-arm bowler, and the old legends. So many of the players with their kids coming into cricket. It's quite cool to see and reminisce about the old players still knocking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was injured at the start. He was carrying an injury at the start of the season, wasn't he? So it prevented him from bowling. But obviously, did a quite a little jaunt in the blast. Bowled the first over in the very start of the tournament, didn't he?
Don't let him bowl to Hammond, please. Don't let him bowl to Miles Hammond. That was carnage.
That must have been the end of that experiment, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what T20 cricket's all about. You adapt. You analyse, adapt, overcome, something like that.
Yeah. Miles Hammond looked awful a couple of years ago in that blast final against Surrey. He just couldn't get it off the square, and then looks a completely different player in Bristol.
Right. Best of luck to Tom Abel and the boys tomorrow. Then, do we have any other business?
Just one shout for Western Storm that are coming to Taunton.
Oh yeah, next Sunday.
So if it's the last day of weekend cricket at the ground, the only day remaining of weekend cricket at the ground. So Sophie Luff captaining the Storm in 50 over action. So if anyone's around, fancies a Sunday at the county ground, that'd be great.
Yep, I think I'll be making it up there. I think my little girl. I was going to take my little girl, I think she's got a birthday party now. She had about 3 birthday parties this week. 2 of them were hers. She's been to another one today, horse ride. She's got a better social life than I have, for God's sakes.
Don't you have one birthday per year? Now it normally works unless you're the Queen.
Well, she had it was her birthday on Friday, so she had the family birthday party came round, and then she had my wife put this girl who dresses up as a Disney princess comes around and does all their makeup and stuff, and she was pretty nice actually. So sort of can she come around for my birthday as well?
I can picture Matt Renshaw doing that, dressed as Twinkle at All Stars and going up to birthday parties.
He probably is. It's probably his side hustle back in Australia. He's like, oh, yeah, it's lunch, right? I've just got to dress up as a clown and go off and do a kids' party. He'd be brilliant at kids' parties, wouldn't he, Matt Renshaw?
In Marnus and that Sam Heaslett just started doing a podcast lad, just started doing a little trio of kids' parties. Yeah, love it. There you go, we got him a career.
Great stuff. Right. Well, let's hope the weather holds off for tomorrow. Don't forget to bid on all the signed shirts and stuff on the auction. Have a look at the club website for that one. Is that it? Oh, we've just gone over an hour again. Determined to keep it under an hour. Our poor listeners, thanks for sticking with us for another hour. Always look on the bright side of life. But unless we've got anything else, should we knock it on the head?
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. Cheers, everyone. Catch you next week.
Cheers, Ben.
Cheers.